for 1,000 years, for over 1,000 years, for over a millennium, there has been a poem that has been memorized and copied and carried around and shared. Vikings quoted it before battle. Scholars have spent centuries arguing about who wrote it. It has been translated dozens of times into dozens of languages, with each translation taking its own liberties. Because it's so strange, so enigmatic, that no single version can quite capture it. Hidden inside it, past the practical wisdom, past the moral instruction, past the love poetry, there lies a description of a twisted ritual. A god hanging from a tree for 9 days, staring deep into the starless void. Hey, what's up, guys? Today we are going through the Hávamál, where it comes from, what it says, who wrote it, and who's actually speaking. An old Norse tale for your listening pleasure. I know. Thank you, Zach. I give you this, and maybe you give me something back. Maybe a little subby sub. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that, right? Hit that little subscribe button. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about Odin. The Allfather, the old man on the throne. Most people probably have some version of him in their mind already. Maybe it's the guy from the Marvel movie. Okay, it's probably the guy from the Marvel movie. That's not exactly wrong. It's a good surface level description of him, I guess. But it's missing the part that makes him really interesting. Odin is the chief of the Aesir, the Norse gods. He's the god of many things. The god of war, yes, but also of poetry, of wisdom, of magic, and of death. He's the one who decides who falls in battle, and he's the one who receives them. This guy's like a level 20 D&D character. Basically, he's got like all this fuck you power, and then he has all these tools and items that go along with him that make him even more powerful. He has 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin. They go out every morning to survey the 9 realms and report back on what they've seen. He also has this horse named Sleipnir with 8 legs, which I will say is probably like 5 more legs than a horse really needs. He also has a spear that never misses and a missing eye. Those 2 aren't related though. He is also notably a wanderer. He doesn't just sit on his throne waiting for problems to come to him. He goes out and he makes his own. On these excursions, he'll usually disguise himself. An old traveler, wide-brimmed hat, one-eyed covered, moving throughout the 9 realms and collecting knowledge. Sometimes he raises the dead to shake their bones and interrogate them. Sometimes he waits outside the mead halls of giants, trying for a chance to talk his way in. He also practices magic. What kind of god of magic would not practice magic, right? He goes for the real shit, though. He goes for the most taboo and dangerous that he can find. It's something I like about Odin. It's something I like about stories in general. There are a lot of stories where people or gods are just born with this immense power. And that's fine, sure, I guess. But I like it better when people have to work for it. When their power comes at a cost. When they have to actually pay for it. And Odin does. He wasn't just born with his power, he earned it. Every piece of it, every fragment. And it came at great personal cost. No version of Odin comes into power easily. Everything he has, everything he knows, he paid for. Above all, he values wisdom. Above comfort, above dignity, above reputation, above morality. Knowledge is what drives Odin. The name Havamal translates most directly to words of the High One. The word of Odin. Okay, so for this video, we are going to be reading from Jackson Crawford's translation of the Poetic Edda, especially from his Hávamál. It's a great read. I definitely recommend it. He also has a YouTube channel that helped me a lot when I was researching this video. especially when I was trying to find pronunciations of some of the harder words in these stanzas. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. Go check him out. I'm going to link him in the description. Anyway, in his description, he notes that the title Havamal can be translated into Words of the High One, but also in a related Gothic language can be translated to Words of the One-Eyed. Words of the High One, Words of the One-Eyed. How did Odin lose his eye? At the root of Yggdrasil, the great world tree that connects all 9 realms, there's a well. Mimir's well. The water in the well is said to grant wisdom beyond ordinary comprehension to anyone who drinks from it. And who else? Who else but Odin would just love a little sippy sip, acting like he's one of those kids in front of you in line for the water fountain, and he's putting his whole mouth on it, like there's not enough water in those pipes for him. And then it gets to your turn, and you have to be like, I don't actually want any water anymore. No, it's okay. It's all yours, buddy. You just keep French kissing that water fountain, Odin. No problemo. He went to Mimir and asked for a drink, but Mimir said there was a price for ultimate knowledge. Odin asked what it was. It was his eye. There's actually no direct telling of this story, at least not a very fleshed out version. The account of this comes from a poem called the Völuspá, the prophecy of the seeress. It's spoken by a dead woman that Odin has raised specifically to tell him things that he doesn't know. And she does. But she also turns on him. And she tells him that she knows what he did. I sat alone when that ancient one came to me, Odin of the Aesir, and he looked into my eye. What do you seek from me, Odin? Why do you seek me, Odin? Odin, I know where you hid your eye, in the shining waters of the well of Mimir. But Mimir can drink every morning from those waters, where your own eye drowns. Have you learned enough yet, All-Father? No, he hasn't. The thirst for knowledge still rages within him. Even with the immense understanding that the well had granted to him, there's still things that he doesn't know. Things that he must know, things that he needs to know. Later in Norse mythology, Mimir is beheaded in an ancient war between the gods. Odin finds the head, he preserves it, and continues consulting it for wisdom. He gave up the ability to see the world as it is, and in turn, gained the ability to see the world as it is hidden. He traded one kind of perception for another. His first sacrifice for ultimate knowledge. There's another cost. It's not as gruesome as pulling out your own eye, but it's more of a story about the character that Odin is. Odin practices a form of magic called cedar. It's a magic associated with prophecy and fate manipulation. A magic that grants the ability to perceive and correct the course of events. It's an extremely powerful form of magic, obviously. Possibly even the strongest power in all of the cosmos. The ability to see what is fated to happen. And the ability to change it. But it was considered woman's work. For a man to practice it in Viking Age society often carried a certain stigma. The Old Norse word is argur, which translates roughly to unmanly, or something closer to pervert. Basically, it was an embarrassment. But Odin learned it anyway. Who was going to stop him? Who would mock the All-Father? This brings us to Lokasenna, another poem in the Poetic Edda. This one I didn't have to include, but I did think it was very funny, so I decided to leave it in. The premise is, Loki crashes a party for the gods, a feast, and then he decides to go down the list and pretty much roast every single person who's there. He does his best to find the most shameful secret of all of them, and then tell it aloud in front of everybody. You had to pay money to get yourself a bride, and you gave up your famous sword. When the giants ride to Asgard,
You won't be able to fight. Ha!
Frey is the best of all the gods in the holy halls of Asgard. He doesn't make girls weep nor cause trouble for women. He frees captives from their chains.
Silence, dear. You don't know how to settle disputes between men. I'm thinking of your right hand, which Fenrir, my son, bit off.
I lost that hand. You lost that son. We both suffered loss. Your son isn't doing well either. He remains forever in chains.
Silence, Tyr. Or don't you know your own wife had a son by me? Oh, you poor fool. I'll never pay you a penny in compensation for that.
Tyr goes silent. He got him. W. Loki, I guess. He works his way through the whole room like this, and then he gets to Odin. He doesn't go after his power, or his age, or his eye, or any of the obvious things. He goes directly for the cedar.
Silence, Odin. You always judge battles unfairly for humans. You have often given defeat to the better side, when you shouldn't have.
You know, even if I did judge unfairly, and made the better side lose, I know that you, for 8 years, lived on Earth down below as a cow in milk, and as a woman, and you have given birth to children. I call that a pervert's way of living.
But people say that you practice womanly magic on Samsi, dressed as a woman. You lived as a witch among the humans. And I call that a pervert's way of living.
So they're basically just going back and forth, calling each other perverts. Odin attacks Loki by calling him arger, unmanly, for living as a woman and giving birth. And then Loki turns it back on Odin. He's like, oh, you dress up in women's clothes. You practice women's magic. You lived as a witch, you frickin' pervert. But Odin doesn't deny it. Nobody denies it. Everything Loki has said is true. He was just rage baiting them. Odin learned magic that made him lose reputation among his own people. In the eyes of Norse warrior culture, it made him look as something lesser. But he kept practicing it because that didn't matter to him, especially if it stood in the way of gaining ultimate power. This is the same man who tore out his eye in the pursuit of knowledge. The same man who will very soon do something a lot worse in the same pursuit. A little dress up means nothing to him. Before we go any further, you must know what is to come. A prophecy. Odin doesn't pursue knowledge casually. There's this desperation in it. What does he need to know so badly? What, through all of his sacrifice, is he trying to learn, to avoid, to prevent? In the Voluspa, Odin summons a Volva, a seeress. He raises her from the dead and asks her to tell him everything. The creation of the world, the lives of the gods. What comes at the end? Ragnarok.
Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Brothers will fight one another and kill one another. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a hard place to live in. It will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms, an age of wolves. Shields will be cloven before the world sinks into the sea. There will be no man left who is true to another. The giants are at play, and the god's fate is kindled at the blast of Gjallarhorn. Heimdall blows that horn hard, holds it high aloft. Odin speaks with Mimir's head. The old tree sighs when the giant shakes it. Yggdrasil still stands, but it trembles. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Rím advances from the east with a shield before him, and the Midgard serpent is in a monstrous rage. The serpent beats the waves, and the eagle screams eagerly, splitting corpses with its pale beak. Naglfar, the giant's ship, is released. That ship sails from the east, bearing giants over the sea, and Loki is its captain. The giants are coming, together with Fenrir, and Loki too is with them on that voyage. What news from the gods? What news from the elves? All Jotunheim is roaring. The Aesir are in council, and the dwarves, creatures of the mountains, tremble by their doors of stone. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? Surt comes from the south with a bright light in his hand. Yes, the sun shines upon the sword in his grasp. The mountains collapse, the trolls fall, men walk the road to hell, and the skies divide above. Then comes the second sorrow of Frigg, when Odin goes to fight the wolf, and Frey goes to fight the giant Surt. Then Odin, Frigg's husband, will fall to Fenrir. Then comes the great son of Odin, Vitar, to fight to avenge his father on the wolf. He shoves his sword into the mouth of Fenrir, all the way to the heart, and thus Odin is avenged. Then Thor comes, Earth's son, Odin's son, to fight the Midgard serpent. The protector of Midgard will kill that serpent in his rage, but all of humankind will die out of the world when Thor falls after only 9 steps. Struck down by the venom of the honorless serpent. The sun turns black, the earth sinks into the sea, the bright stars fall out of the sky, flames scorch, the leaves of Yggdrasil, a great bonfire, reaches to the highest clouds. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods.
The Twilight of the Gods, a final battle. A series of destined duels, all foretold, all known, all unavoidable. Fenrir breaks free from his chains. The Midgard serpent rises from the ocean. Thor dies. Humankind is vanquished. Yggdrasil is burned as a great funeral pyre. Odin, the Allfather, the most powerful in all 9 realms, is vanquished by the wolf Fenrir. That's how it ends for him. That's always been how it ends for him. That's why he gathers knowledge. That's why he gathers power. That's why he sacrifices so much. Right after learning this, right after learning the prophecy, he goes out and starts looking for more. There's a short poem in the Poetic Edda called Baldur's Drummer, Baldur's Dreams. Baldur is Odin's son, and Baldur has started having nightmares. Once all the gods met for a conference, all the goddesses met for a conference, and the mighty gods talked about why Baldur was having bad dreams. Odin stood up, that father of gods, and he saddled his horse Sleipnir. Then he rode down to Hel, till he saw the dog of Hel. The dog had a bloody chest and barked a long time as Odin passed. Odin rode on, the stories of the road rattled, till he came to the high house of Hel. Then Odin rode east of the door to Hel, and there he found the grave of a witch, and then the battle god spoke a spell, till her corpse was forced to rise and spoke. Who is this man, unknown to me, who has brought me back to loathsome life? I was buried in snow, pelted by rain, drowned in dew. I was dead a long time. Odin said, I am the road tamer, son of the corpse tamer. Tell me news from Hel, and I'll tell you news from above. Whose arrival are these benches draped with straw for? Why is the floor all covered in gold? The mead is brewed for Baldur's arrival. A shield is placed over the fresh brew. All the gods are in suspense. I was forced to speak. Now I return to silence.
Don't go silent, witch. I want to ask you more, till I understand everything, and I want to know more. Who will be the killer of my son Balder? Who will steal the life of Odin's son? Hoth will bear the long spear that will kill him. He will be the killer of your son, Balder. He will steal the life of Odin's son. I was forced to speak. Now I return to silence. Don't go silent, witch. I want to ask you more, till I understand everything, and I want to know more. Who will avenge Hoth's crime? Who will put Balder's killer on the funeral pyre? In halls to the west, Rind will give birth to your son Vali. He will avenge Balder when he is only 1 night old. He will neither comb his hair nor wash his hands till he puts Balder's killer on the funeral pyre. I was forced to speak. Now I return to silence. Don't go silent, witch. I want to ask you more, till I understand everything, and I want to know more. Who are the women who weep in longing, who throw their necklaces up into the sky? You are not road tamer, like I thought you were. No, you are Odin, the aged god. You are neither a witch nor a wise woman. No, you are the mother of 3 monsters. Ride home, Odin. Feel triumphant for now, but you will come for a second visit when Loki breaks free from his chains, and Ragnarok comes to end everything.
It's cool, right? I love apocalypse stories. It's my favorite part of theology. I remember being a little kid in Mormon Sunday school and reading the book of Revelations. Because, what else am I supposed to do? Listen to them pray and sing and do whatever? But yeah, I thought it was really cool. And I would try to convey that to the other kids in Sunday school, to my parents, to anyone I could. And they weren't interested in it. They weren't interested in all the biblical terror, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool then, and I still think it's cool now. The first section of the book is also the longest. It's called the Gestaþáttr, or the guest portion. It goes on for about 80 stanzas. It's the practical wisdom section. It represents Viking-era thinking and their values. This is also the part that Crawford translated into the Cowboys' Havamal, which takes the same basic advice and colors it more so to the American West, cowboy country. At every doorway before you enter, you should look around. You should take a good look around, for you never know where your enemies might be seated within. That's how it opens. That's what Odin wants you to know. Before friendship, before love, before power, before anything else, you need to know that there are enemies everywhere. To make sure that when you enter a room, you look to see where your enemies are. The Gestaþáttr is not the wisdom of some benevolent sage handing down enlightenment from upon a mountaintop. It's the wisdom of someone who has fought, who is maimed, who is killed, someone who knows how bad things can get, how quickly they can go wrong. It's practical, it's even funny, but it has this bleakness to it, this darkness that runs under it. He has, for instance, a lot to say about alcohol. A traveler cannot bring a better burden on the road than plenty of wisdom. It will prove better than money in an unfamiliar place. Wisdom is the comfort of the poor. A traveler cannot bring a better burden on the road than plenty of wisdom, and he can bring no worse a burden than too much alcohol. There's not as much good as men claim there is in alcohol for one's well-being. A man knows less as he drinks more, and loses more and more of his wisdom. It's as if a memory-stealing heron broods overhead while you drink, and steals your mind away. I myself have been trapped in that bird's feathers when I drank at Gunnlaug's home. I was drunk. I was too drunk at Wise Fjallar's house. The best kind of feast is the one you go home from,
with all of your wits about you.
Again, Odin is all about wisdom. Alcohol inhibits you and makes you forget. Naturally, something that Odin is not all too fond of. But there isn't just general wisdom here. He relents. He speaks on his own experiences, on drinking too much, on messes that he made, his confession, on losing himself. A stupid man thinks he knows everything if he hides himself in a corner, but he doesn't even know what he'll answer if men ask him questions. It's best for a fool to keep his mouth shut among other people. No one will know he knows nothing if he says nothing. An ignorant man doesn't know how little he knows, no matter how much he talks. You will seem wise if you know the answer and know how to explain it. People are not able to keep a secret of what they hear about other people. You will say plenty of nothing with all of your talking if you never close your mouth. A hasty tongue, unless it's disciplined, often earns its owner punishment. He speaks on wisdom a lot, and the way of being intelligent or idiotic or even ignorant. If you're stupid, if you don't know anything, the best thing you can do is keep your mouth shut. But if you're intelligent, if you know the answer to the question being asked, go ahead and answer it. Just know your limits. The section on friendship is interesting. He gives you tips on hospitality, on being a good guest, but he also laments on how he's hated, how he's not welcome. Be a friend to your friend, and repay each gift with a gift. Repay laughter with laughter. Repay treachery with treachery. If you have a good friend and really trust him, and want good to come from your friendship, you should speak your mind with him, exchange gifts, visit him often. This same friend, if you mistrust him and suspect him to be false in his words, you should talk with him, laugh with him, but repay just what he gives you. I think it's funny. He tells you to be a good, genuine friend to people you trust. Good advice. But then immediately in the next stanza, he goes out of his way to pull out manipulation tactics for people you don't like. I wonder if that's why people don't invite him to parties. I wonder what the answer could be. Maybe if Odin wasn't trying to manipulate and kill everyone he comes in contact with, he might be invited to a little bit more. You should be only a little wise, never too wise. The happiest people throughout their lives are those who know just enough. You should be only a little wise, never too wise. A wise man's heart is seldom glad, if he's truly wise. You should be only a little wise, never too wise. It's best not to know your fate beforehand. You'll live happier if you don't. Odin laments on knowing his true fate, on knowing how things are going to turn out. He says that it's better to not know anything than to know too much. It's a warning for us. Odin already knows his fate. He went out and he sought it out on purpose. And he's not happy. He's not glad. It weighs him down. After this, I think that Odin is getting a little bit bogged down. So he starts ruminating on death. Better to be alive, no matter what, than dead. Only the living enjoy anything. I saw a fire burning for a rich man, and he lay dead outside the door. A limping man can ride a horse, a handless man can herd, a deaf man can fight and win. It's better even to be blind than fuel for the funeral pyre. What can a dead man do? Better to have a son than not, even if he's born late in life, even if he's born after you die. You'll rarely see memorials or graves standing near the road that were raised for men without sons. Cows die, family die, you will die the same way. But a good reputation never dies, for the one who earns it well. Cows die, family dies, you will die the same way. I know only one thing that never dies, the reputation of the one who's died. It's better to be alive than dead. Whether you're handless or you're deaf or you're blind, you still have more purpose than a dead man. But keep in mind that everything ends, everything dies. Only your reputation endures. Gestaþáttr ends on stanza 81. Don't praise the day until it's night. Don't praise your wife until she's burned. Don't praise the sword till after the fight, nor your daughter till she's married. Don't praise the ice until it's crossed, nor the ale until it's drunk. It's practical, it's bleak, it's beautiful. Don't assume anything is good until it's finished. See things out until their end. These are all good advice for the most part. I don't know if they would apply as much to the modern day as they would to the Viking Age. I think the Cowboys Havamal does a better job at that, at applying the lessons in this part to the modern day lives we live now. After Gestaþáttr, Hávamál enters this kind of transitional period called the Málahalter, and then it goes into what's called the Domi Odins, or Odin's examples, but it's often translated into Odin's love adventures. So it starts off with some advice on love and courtship, but then it gets into some observations about the deceptions of both men and women. Some of it is practical. I don't know if I would tell you to go on Hinge and try it out. The old Viking Riz isn't really what it used to be. But after that, we get into some stories, both involving Odin and a woman, and both to showcasing the type of person that Odin is. Here's the first story, Billing's May, or Billing's daughter. Only you know what dwells in your heart when you are alone, but nothing is worse for a wise person than to have nothing to love. I experienced this when I waited among the reeds and hoped in vain for my lover. That wise girl was my flesh and my heart, though I could not call her my own. I found Billing's daughter, fair as a sun ray, asleep on her bed. The life of a lord seemed as nothing to me unless I could live next to that body. You should come back in the evening, Odin, she said. If you want to woo me, it is improper, unless we alone know of such a scandal. I turned back, away from my wise desire, and I thought I'd already won her. I imagined that I would have the woman's love and all her joy. But when I came back that night, there was a good company of warriors awake and ready for me, with burning flames and torches held high. I was shown my miserable way out. And when morning came and I returned, everyone in the hall was sleeping. And then I found a watchdog, tied to the bed of that good woman. There's many a good woman, if you get to know her, who will change her mind about a man. I learned that when I tried to seduce a wise woman. That wise lady showed me every kind of shame, and I gained no wife for my trouble. Damn, he got played. He wanted this girl, right? Some daughter of a guy named Billings. And she's like, oh yeah, come back later. We don't want anyone knowing about this except for us. It's pretty scandalous, right? So Odin goes away. But when he comes back, he finds all these warriors in the hall. So he can't just go and sneak into her room. And he decides, to his bereavement, to come back later. But come morning, when he comes back, she has a guard dog tied to her bed. He's confessing this, by the way. He put it in his own poem. He went back twice, and he got humiliated more and more each time. And he's just sitting there. He's writing it down. He's telling you about it. He compliments her. He calls her wise. Hell, she tricked him. But ultimately, she didn't want him. It's all in good fun, right? The next story is not as fun. There's something in Norse mythology called the Odorir, the mead of poetry. It's a magical substance. It was brewed from the blood of Kvasir, the wisest being who ever lived, and then mixed with honey. Anyone who drinks it becomes capable of extraordinary poetry and wisdom. It belongs to a giant named Suttungr, guarded by his daughter Gunnlod inside a mountain. Odin, being Odin, wanted it. I visited an old giant, and now I've returned. I didn't stay silent there. I spoke many words in support of my cause at Suttungr's hall. Gunnlod, his daughter, gave me a drink of its precious mead while I sat on a golden chair. I would later give her a bad repayment for her trusting mind, for her troubled mind. Giants' dwellings were over and under me. I used Ratty's tusk to burrow out and gnaw away the rock. In this way, I risked my head. I made good use of the disguise I used. Few things are too difficult for the wise now Odorir has come up onto the rim of Midgard. I doubt I could have escaped Jotunheim if I hadn't used Gunnlod, the good woman who rested in my arms. The next day the frost giants came to ask Odin's advice in Odin's hall. They inquired about that evildoer, whether he was among the gods or whether Suttung had killed him. I believe that Odin swore an oath to them. But who can trust Odin? He left Suttung deceived after the banquet, and he left Gunnlod weeping. Odin didn't ask for the mead. He was manipulative. He spent 9 days earning Suttungr's trust. He drilled through the rock with a magical tool called Ratty, something similar to a drill. He crept into the cave and spent 3 nights with Gunnlod, seducing her into giving him the mead. And he drank all of it. And when he was done, he turned into an eagle and flew home to Asgard. He doesn't tell us this as some victory he had. He doesn't feel bad for stealing the mead. Anything for knowledge, of course. But he does feel bad for Gunnlod. He says that he gave her a bad repayment. She trusted him, and he used her. And then he left. Odin spoke about this in an earlier poem, how to manipulate people to get what you want. But now he has used someone. He knows that he's used someone. He's telling us this because it's the truth of what happened. And that's more important than flattering himself. But he still got what he wanted. The third section is called Loddfáfnismál, or words for Loddfáfnir. We actually don't know who Loddfáfnir is. Here he's the recipient of Odin's advice, but he's not mentioned anywhere else in Norse mythology. The section opens with, "It is time to speak on the wise man's chair at Urd's well. I saw and was silent. I saw and I thought. I listened to men's speech. I heard about the runes, and they were not silent with counsel at Odin's hall. In Odin's hall. I heard them say so." And then every stanza in the section after that opens with the same thing. "I counsel you, Loddfáfnir. If you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn from it. It'll do you good if you remember it." And then some specific advice follows. That's how these stanzas go. It really has the quality of this super long lecture from someone who's been everywhere and seen everything, and he's just growing really tired of watching people make the same avoidable mistakes. A lot of this section is pretty similar to Gestaþáttr in the way that it gives general advice, but it has some things that make it personal. "I counsel you, Loddfáfnir. If you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. Do not rise at night, unless you're spying on your enemies, or seeking a place to relieve yourself." I think that's nice. He's giving you an appropriate time to get up at night, and that's either to pee or to kill people. It also has some good advice for not sleeping with witches. "I counsel you, Loddfáfnir. If you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. Do not sleep in the arms of a sorceress, or she will lock your limbs. She will enchant you, so that you won't care for the advice nor a powerful man's words. You will want neither food nor the pleasure of friends' company, and you will sleep full of sorrow." Been there, brother. All I'm saying is it does not sound like a bad time, but it can be dangerous, so he warns against it. Yeah, whatever. No fun, no fun. Odin's no fun. I say, go sleep with the witches. These stanzas can also be a little bit strange, and they tend to go on longer than the previous sections. "I counsel you, Loddfáfnir. If you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. When you drink beer, choose the might of the earth, for the earth is good against beer, and fire against sickness, oak against an irritable bowel, wheat against magic, an elder tree against family quarrels, maggots against venomous bites, runes against evil, ground against water. Swear your hate beneath the moon. It's weird, right? Maggots against venomous bites. Swear your hate beneath the moon. Seems alright. Maggots will eat away the decaying skin. Attack your enemies under the cover of darkness. Pretty sound advice. But what's that part about oak versus an irritable bowel? Am I supposed to eat it? Am I supposed to wipe my ass with it? I don't know. Wheat against magic? I don't even know for this one. There's no further explanation, no context, no follow-up. That's pretty much the Loddfáfnir in a nutshell. It can be profound, useful, but strange and sometimes very weird. And it all starts with the same repetitive opening. It's kind of odd, I think. It starts to feel like a ritual chant by the end. But now it's time for the real ritual. I know that I hung on a wind-battered tree 9 long nights, pierced by a spear and given to Odin, myself to myself, on that tree whose roots grow in a place no one has ever seen. No one gave me food. No one gave me drink. At the end, I peered down. I took the runes, screaming. I took them, and then I fell. I learned 9 spells from the famous son of Bolthar, the father of Bestla, and I won a drink of that precious mead poured from Odorir. I began to be fruitful. I became wise. I grew and I thrived. One word chased another word flowing from my mouth. One deed chased another deed flowing from my hands. You will find runes, runic letters to read, very great runes, very powerful runes, which Odin painted, and which the holy gods made, and which Odin carved. Odin carved for the gods, and Dane for the elves, Valen for the dwarves, and Asfid for the giants. I carved some myself. Do you know how to write them? Do you know how to read them? Do you know how to paint them? Do you know how to test them? Do you know how to ask them? Do you know how to bless them? Do you know how to send them? Do you know how to offer them? It is better not to pray at all than to pray for too much. Nothing will be given that you won't repay. It is better to sacrifice nothing than to offer too much. Odin carved this before the birth of humankind, when he rose up and returned again. So, here Odin is talking about sacrificing himself to himself. He hangs himself for 9 days and pierces himself with his own spear. Essentially, he becomes a ritual object. He decides the way to get what he wants is to offer himself, to endure great suffering. It's kind of like a weird backwards thing, right? Like, how does that even work? He's left to peer into the abyss. And after those 9 days alone on that wind-battered tree, no food, no water, a spear through his body, the knowledge finally comes. Odin is screaming. He reaches out and sees the knowledge before him. 18 runes, the Elder Futhark alphabet, and through the alphabet, magic, the ability to heal, curse, calm storms, and speak with the dead. And then he falls. He paid for this language with suffering. He paid for these words, these letters, these runes, the ability to write and read and be heard with 9 long nights. But as he falls, as he picks himself up, he asks himself 8 questions. Do you know how to write them? Do you know how to read them? Do you know how to paint them? Do you know how to test them? Do you know how to ask them? Do you know how to bless them? Do you know how to send them? Do you know how to offer them? Seeing these runes and knowing how to use them are completely different. It is better not to pray at all than to pray for too much. Nothing will be given that you won't repay. Great suffering grants great reward. It's an interesting story. It's a good story. Again, it's that part that I really like, how power isn't free. How Odin had to go through this prolonged suffering to get what he wanted. And still, he has so much more to learn. The last section, the final section of the Hávamál, is called the Ljóðatal. In this section, Odin lists out 18 magical spells that he knows. It's kind of a continuation of the Loddfáfnir, so it has this really repetitive nature to it. Almost every stanza opens with, I know a spell, I know a second spell, I know a third spell. It's the same opening over and over. It's the same structure, just adding to the list of what Odin knows. I know magic spells that no woman knows and no man either. The first is called Help, and it will help you in lawsuits and sadness and all kinds of worries. I know a second spell, which men need if they want to heal others. This one is really short. Really, they're not instructions on how to perform them. Just that he knows it, or that he knows of it. I know a third spell. If I have a great need to thwart my enemies, I dull the edges of their weapons, and none of their blades will bite. I know a fourth spell. If chains and locks are placed upon my limbs, I cast the spell so that I can escape. The chains burst from my hands, the locks burst from my feet. I know a fifth spell. If I see a spear cast into the crowd of battling foes, it cannot fly so fast that I can't stop its flight, as long as I can see it. I know a sixth spell. If a man carves a curse against me in the roots of a gnarled tree, I call the spell down upon that man, and his curse harms him instead of me. I know a seventh spell. If I see a great flame consuming a hall full of people, it cannot burn so bright that I cannot save those inside. I know how to cast this spell. I find it interesting that he mentions plainly that he knows how to cast this one. So maybe he knows of all of these spells, but not how to cast them, not intrinsically. But this one, he does know how to cast. So if any real fire were to break out, he'd know how to deal with it. I know an eighth spell. It would be useful for anyone to learn it. When hate arises between any two people, I can cool their tempers. I know a ninth spell. If the need arises for me to save a ship upon the sea, I can calm the wind upon the waves and soothe the sea to sleep. I know a 10th spell. If I see witches at play in the air, I can cast a spell so that they get lost, so they can't find their skins, so that they can't find their minds. Okay, this one's a weird one. He's referring to shapeshifters. In Norse mythology, witches could don the skins of different animals and become them. What this spell does is basically just force them back into their original body. I know an 11th spell. If I lead old friends into battle, I enchant their shields so that they will have victory. They will go to battle unharmed and return from battle unharmed. They will come home without harm. I know a 12th spell. If I see, hanging from a tree, a dead man's corpse, I carve some runes and paint them, and then that corpse will walk and speak with me. I know a 13th spell. If I throw water upon a young man, he will never be killed, even if he goes into battle. That man will not die from violence. I know a 14th spell. It allows me to count all the gods for men. I know the names of all the gods and elves, and few who are fools can say that. I know a 15th spell. The dwarf Thjothreyrir cast it before Delling's doors. He conjured power for the gods, courage for the elves, and knowledge for Odin. This is the only spell that's attributed to someone else. This, I think, strengthens my claim that Odin knows all of these spells, but not how to cast all of them. A dwarf cast it for Odin's benefit. It gave knowledge for Odin. And you know how much my boy loves his knowledge. I know a 16th spell. If I want to win over a cunning woman, and have her all to myself, I can change the mind of that lovely armed beauty and win her favor for myself. I know a 17th spell, to prevent a beautiful woman from shunning me. You'll go without these spells, Loddfáfnir, for a long time, but they'd profit you if you learned them. They'd do you good if you remembered them. They'd suit your needs if you could use them. I know an 18th spell, which I will never teach to a girl or a woman, unless maybe to the one I embrace in sleep, or my sister. It is much better that one alone should know this, which is the last of the spells. And that's the last one. That's the best one by implication. The one spell Odin won't tell. And then the poem ends with one final stanza. Now the words of the one-eyed are heard in Odin's hall, for the benefit of humans, for the harm of giants. Health to you who speak them, health to you who know them, profit to you who learn them, health to you who hear them. Odin is not a benevolent god. He's not giving out wisdom while sitting on a comfortable throne. For knowledge, he tore out his eye and threw it into a well. For knowledge, he learned a woman's magic and was mocked for it. For knowledge, he went out of his way to use a woman and steal her magical mead. For knowledge, he hanged himself for 9 nights. No food, no water, with the spear pierced through him. Everything Odin does, every compromise, every price, every sacrifice, was done in the pursuit of knowledge, of understanding. He knows what's coming. He knows his fate. He knows of Ragnarok. He knows that he dies at the jaws of Fenrir. He knows that the world ends. And he does it anyway. The thirst, the need for knowledge is too great. And he'll do anything to obtain it. The Havamal at its core is a wisdom text. It's a practical guide to living. And it's written in the voice of someone who's actually paid for it. The hanging isn't separate from the wisdom sections. It's the explanation for them. It's where the knowledge came from. It's what it cost. He chose to share it with us. He chose to write it down for us, for our benefit and for the harm of giants. You should be only a little wise, never too wise. A wise man's heart is seldom glad, if he's truly wise. And that's it. That's the Hávamál, the word of Odin. Again, we worked off Jackson Crawford's translation for it, The Wanderer's Hávamál. It's a good read. I definitely recommend it. He has a great commentary after the translation also. So definitely, yeah, go. Pick it up if you're interested. He also has that YouTube channel that I mentioned. It's really great. It helped a lot when I was researching this video and learning the pronunciations. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a lot of him just standing around on his ranch, just talking about old Norse mythology. Really, a lot of interesting videos. I'll link that in the description. Oh, also, if you want something else from me, I really recommend the homunculus video. A lot of people seem to like that one. As always, I'm sure I missed some stuff. So if you have any additional context about the Hávamál or Norse mythology, I'd love to hear it. Just leave it down in the comments, please. Okay, yeah. That's it from me. Other than that, yeah, thanks for watching, as always. Like and subscribe. You know the drill. Okay, bye.